Hi there. Welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today is an awesome little Kundalini practice to unlock the latent energy trapped within your body. We're going to be playing with Kriyas, which is just a neat way to decarbonize and reoxygenate the blood within your body. Breath is key in today's movement. I need you to look for opportunities on the mat today to use an audible pumping breath action. And you can play up the exhale, maybe electing to use an Ujjayi type exhalation where you're exhaling through the nose, constricting the larynx slightly and making an almost ocean wave type exhale, sounding something like this. Or you could elect to use an audible exhale through the mouth, making an HA sound, ha, or maybe an SI sound, s. Don't be afraid to mix it up. Experiment on the mat today. If you're familiar with the concept of the Tibetan rites, you could think of today's class as one long foray into the passage of dynamic movement, where you're shooting for roughly 21 repetitions of each particular dynamic exercise set. It's not so much about the exact amount of repetitions. That's just a guideline. It's going to depend on how fast or how slowly you're moving through that exercise. It's more about giving your body enough of a repetitive movement of that particular exercise so that the body's warming up, opening up, letting go of that latent energy, but also getting enough time to get rid of the toxins in the body, cleanse out the blood. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify where you need to, and feel comfortable to take a time out in child pose at any time, should you need it. You ready to play? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class sitting on a block in Dandasana. If you don't have a block, you can just come to a comfortable cross-legged seated position on your mat. Maybe Sukhasana, where you're just tucking one foot in front of the other. If you are sitting on a block, situate yourself as you come into your easy sit, tucking one leg in front of the other. Just reposition or wedge the block underneath your bottom so that you're tilting the pelvis almost to the 6 o'clock position, maybe with a little bit more arch in the spine, and you're allowing the knees to drop down on the floor. You can just place one foot in front of the other. We're going to keep our first Tadasana really nice and comfortable. And we're going to start off with a little bit of Kapalbhati, breath of fire. We're going to be playing with a little pumping breath. For this exercise, you're going to be inhaling and exhaling through the nose. This is an awesome exercise just to wake up the energy in the body and cleanse out the blood. You're going to be working with a nice little pumping action, a soft, almost inaudible inhalation and a forceful exhalation where you're almost thinking of taking the diaphragm and tucking it underneath your rib cage so that you get a fair amount of movement in the lower belly area. You could almost think of it as just trying to connect your belly button to your spinal column every time you take an exhale. Just sit up nice and tall, hands palms down on your knees. You're going to shoot for 3 rounds of Kapalbhati and give me about 21 little forcible pumps for each round, taking enough of a recovery between rounds. When you're ready, you can begin. Take a big breath in and then begin pumping 21 times. Take at least 2 or 3 recovery breaths, inhaling and exhaling gently through your nose, relaxing your shoulders away from your ears. When you're ready, begin round 2. Take a couple of recovery breaths. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Give yourself enough time to recover before you begin round 3. When you feel sufficiently recovered and centered, you're going to vigorously rub the palms of your hands together so that you're creating a lot of kinetic energy between the two hands. Rub it up nice and good. And then you're going to place your warmed up palms over the lower belly area, maybe stacking one palm on top of the other, connecting to your two lower energy centers or chakras, your pelvic floor center, and your reproductive organs, waking them up gently. Then rub the hands vigorously together again, creating enough soft, warm energy between the two hands, and you're going to find your next placement above the belly button line and below your breast line, connecting to the next two energy centers, your sacral or belly button area, and then the heart or the chest center. Rub the two hands vigorously again, creating that warm energy between the hands. And your next placement is at the base of your throat, overlaying one palm on top of the other and connecting to your throat center, your Vishuddhi chakra. Rub the two hands together vigorously. And our next placement is that little spot between the two eyes, your third eye, your Anya chakra, your seat of consciousness. Last little hand rub. And this time you're going to find your placement on the crown of your head, the Sahasrara chakra. So just quickly touching base with all three energy centers or chakras that we're going to be waking up in the body today to unleash that beautiful energy trapped within your body. We're going to play with a little bit of vocalization. Don't be afraid to make noise on the mat. You're going to place your hands, your palms, one over the other, just softly on your chest so that you can feel the vibration of the sound as we begin to play with Om. You're going to take a big inhale in through your nose, and on an exhale, you're going to think of making maybe an O-U-M sound, Om, and focus on the M sound, the vibration, holding that M for as long as you've got exhale. You're just going to close your eyes, take your focus in, and we're just going to do a couple of soft rounds of Om. Don't be afraid to make noise. Big breath in to prepare. When you're ready, make your sound. Let's do 2 more rounds. Gently flutter open the eyes. Feed the block out from underneath your bum. Just place it gently one side and sit yourself back onto your bum, changing the cross of your legs and leading with the opposite leg in front. We're going to come into a little bum thump, and I'll give you a front view and then a side view. You're going to use your hands, either flat palms or fisted, to push down into the mat, lifting your bum up off the floor and then thumping your bum back down to the mat. Lift your bum up and then thump it down. We're going to shoot for about 21 repetitions, lifting your bum up and then dropping it to the floor, waking up your root chakra. And you can play with your breath, maybe giving me a little audible exhale, little shooting breath as you thump your rump into the mat. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center as you play. let's do 2 more. As you complete the last one, just place your hands palms down on the knees and let's release the neck. Start with your chin line parallel to the floor. On an exhale, think of nodding, yes, then no. And just keep gently running through that movement, nodding yes, and then no. As you play with that release through your neck, try to sit up nice and tall on the mat. Try to ground both bum bones equally into the mat and think of keeping your shoulders softly dropping away from your ears. So don't bunch up your shoulders by your ears. Sit up nice and tall. Keep the belly button softly pulled into center so that you're sitting with a nice long trunk on the mat. Feel the neck begin to release tension and that little tension spot at the nape of the neck beginning to release. Playing with an almost inaudible breath pattern at this stage. We're going to have lots of opportunities to vocalize. Last one. You're going to keep the arms long and lengthened at your side with your fingertips just softly draped into the mat. You're going to pull your shoulders up to the ceiling on an inhale, and on an exhale, you're going to let go. You're going to move in a fast, brisk pattern. Drop your shoulders away from your ears and hold. Long exhale. Then take a big breath in, scrunching up your face, pulling up your shoulders, and on an exhale, think haka. Drop your tongue towards your chin. Lion breath, Samasana. Let's just do that twice more. Big breath in. Making a soft HA sound. Place your hands palms down on your knee and start tracing a small anti-clockwise circle, so towards your left knee. Begin your circle small and then start making it systematically bigger. And don't be afraid to use your arms and your shoulders in that circular trace. Nice big inhale as you come forward, and then an exhale, almost squeezing the diaphragm in towards the chest as you circle back. Beautiful little Kundalini spiral. And you can start thinking of a coiling or a vining energy system beginning at the base of your spine and creeping up like a little grapevine all the way along your spine, making its way towards the crown of your head. Come to stillness along the midline and change the cross of your legs, leading with the right leg in front. You're going to trace that little circular pattern again, but this time clockwise. So towards your right knee, begin your circle small, start making it systematically bigger, and get into the shoulders. Feel where you're holding your tension. Don't be afraid to get into the arms and the shoulders as you begin moving. Nice big inhale as you come forward. Exhale as you squeeze the diaphragm back. So maybe playing with a softer Ujjayi type exhalation. Remember to play up your exhale today. Look for opportunities to make sounds, vocalize. Let's do 2 more, and then we're going to change our orientation on the mat, and you're going to ease your way into a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Stack your shoulders, or rather your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips, not leaning into the arms and not pushing back into the legs, but your weight distribution more or less equally on the arms and the legs. Don't drop your head. Think of pushing the mat away and lengthening through your neckline. You're going to extend the right leg behind you, readjusting your hands if you need to so that the weight distribution is even and not kicking up the leg too high. Coming up to about waist height. Big inhale as you extend the leg behind you, and then on an exhale, nod your chin to your knee and then open back up. Last one. Ease your way into a kneeling frame on the mat. Nice high kneel with your shoulders, hips, and your knees stacked. Make a soft fist with your hands in front of you. We're going to play up with a little side stretch. So you're going to just dip off the center line and come back to your start position. At the same time, you're going to trace a little figure 8, release through the wrists. Try not to dip at the waist and drop your bum towards your heel. So keep the integrity of the plank line, feeling a nice stretch through the top of the thighs and through the lower belly area as you dip off the center line. Keep thinking of softly fusing your belly button to your spine. Let's do 2 more. And then we're going to play knee to nose on the other side, and you're going to find the pumping breath pattern of your choice. Ease your way back to your 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Remember, nice and long through the neck and the spine. Don't collapse the head or the spine. Inhale as you extend the left leg behind you. Exhale as you think knee to nose. Hold your last little contraction before easing your way back into a high kneeling frame. You're going to trace that little figure 8, this time maybe in the opposite direction. Just dipping softly off the center line, keeping that nice stretch through the top of your thighs, through the lower belly area. Keeping your arms softly lengthened as you trace that little circular release through the wrists. Last one. We're going to come back to our 4-point kneel, but we're going to mix it up. You're going to drop your way onto the elbows this time. I want you to almost think of coming into a mini dolphin-like frame. You could almost think puppy here, where your hands are placed palm down into the mat. You're going to start with your hips softly stacked over the knees, and then you're going to think of trying to draw your chin over your thumbs and back to your start position, over your thumbs and back. And you're going to play with that repetitive movement, finding the audible exhale of your choice. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center, nice and strong through the forearms as you play with that audible breath, rocking or seesawing your body back and forth. Keep your belly button softly pulled into center as you play. From here, we're going to find our way into a dolphin hold. Tuck your toes under, float your bum up to the ceiling, holding your little dolphin stretch. The crown of the head floating off the floor, the rest of the pose thinking down dog, floating your bum bones up to the ceiling. You can either stay here in your dolphin pose, allowing the blood to pool in your head, or you can maybe come into a baby crow if you'd like to play a little bit by creeping yourself forward, dropping your knees onto the tricep, looking just off the front of the mat, trying to float the toes off the mat behind you and coming to a soft balance with your face pretty close to the top of your mat and just gently looking off the front of your mat. Ease your way from here into a soft kneeling frame. Knees together, heels together. Make a little fist and drop the fist, or rather the wrist, to the inside of your hip bone with the knuckles looking in to the center line. Sit up nice and tall, softly pushing your knuckles into your lower belly. And then on an exhale, fold forward as far as you can. We're looking for a little bit of compression in the lower belly area. And you're going to try to drop your forehead to the mat if you can and hold that little compression, almost thinking of maybe softly undulating your fists and getting a nice little massage going in the lower belly area. Wake up the lower viscera. Great for peristalsis, for unblocking the lower organs if you've been suffering from constipation. And then gently peel up along the center line. Come to a high kneeling frame with the knees sandwiched together if you can. And we're going to play with a little bit of dynamic movement again. Think gentle back bend, almost a mini camel, floating the hands behind you, trying to make a little fist. And then letting go of the fist, sitting back into thunderbolt and pushing your hands into active prayer. Begin moving dynamically between the two. Maybe inhaling as you fist and come into the back bend. Exhale as you push into your palms. Find the audible breath pattern that works for you. Don't be afraid to experiment with your breath. It's there to help you build up that heat energy at the same time. You detoxifying the blood, getting rid of all the carbon dioxide in the blood, and you allowing oxygenation to take place. Think of squeezing the two shoulder blades together and expanding laterally through the chest. And if fisting the arms behind you is not an option, just think Titanic, floating the hands behind you before pushing into the palms as you take your seat. Let's do two more. As you complete your last one, ease your way into Dandasana or staff pose, sitting up nice and tall towards the top end of your mat. If you are in a tall side, make sure that you sit yourself right at the top with enough room to come onto the back. Sit up nice and tall and open up your feet about hip width distance apart. Make sure that you're not quasimodoing out on me and hanging off your tailbone. So move your butt flesh out the way. Sit up nice and tall. Make sure your bum bones are grounding you into the mat. You're going to extend the arms out in front of you, trying to keep your wrist line in line with your shoulder line the whole time. So try not to drop the arms as you're playing. Then you're going to pretend that you're hitchhiking, tucking your fingers in. You can just give me a soft tuck of your fingers in, so maybe all four fingers looking towards you, especially if you've got long nails, and the thumbs looking up to the ceiling. Try to keep your wrists in line with your shoulders. You're going to think seesaw, exhaling as you come forward over your toes and inhaling to come back. Playing with the breath pattern that works for you. Give me a long exhale as you reach over your toes, maybe even binding around the toes, or maybe reaching for that block, tucking it around the feet and hugging it in, or maybe just placing the block between the two thighs and leaning into it, or using a belt, a hand towel, or a strap. If you can't reach the toes, maybe softly finding a placement on your shins or on the mat as you come into a soft forward fold and just hold it. Getting a little bit of compression once more into that lower belly area. And then we'll play with a little dynamic boat line, Navasana, from here. Peel up from staff pose, Dandasana. Bend your knees. I nearly said bend the feet. And connect the soles of your feet to the mat. Find your boat line by focusing on what you're doing with the spine. You're going to tip the weight off the tailbone, but try not to round up. Think of more of an L frame, almost like the seat of a car reclining as you tilt back and float your feet off the mat, bracing your hands softly on the shins. You're going to open up the body into a soft T frame and then come back to your start position, playing with the breath pattern, nice little audible exhale of your choice. Keep playing with that dynamic movement. Think of drawing up along the inner thighs and pulling up really strongly from your pubic bone towards your belly button, as if you were pulling up the zip on a really tight pair of skinny jeans. Keep that long line through your spine. Think of that L shape. Keep using your core and your inner thighs. Let's do 4 more. And then we'll use a little fall back to come onto the spine and hold a soft scooped frame on the mat. Fall back, hollowing out your back. Arms are long and lengthened as if you were reaching for your toes with your fingertips. Your lower back is imprinted into the mat. Your lower rib cage is heavy into the mat, but the weight is off the shoulders and your core is braced as if somebody had thrown a beach ball at your tummy and you're holding that contraction. 5, 4, 3, 2. Gently peel down to the mat. Bend your knees and connect the soles of your feet to the mat, setting up a bridge line, Setu Bandha, and we'll play with it dynamically. Check that your feet are not too far away from your body. Scooch your heels in closer towards your bum. Your feet and your knees stay hip-width distance apart. Begin with the arms long and lengthened at your side, palms down, and find a neutral spine position with a little space between your lower back and the mat. We're going to articulate up into a bridge hold, and then we're going to play with that bridge dynamically. From neutral spine, take a big breath in to prepare. On the exhale, tilt your pubis towards the 12 o'clock position. Start peeling up one vertebra at a time, disconnecting your bum from the mat, piking the hips up nice and high towards the ceiling, articulating up one vertebra at a time, coming up nice and high, pausing at the apex of your bridge, and just take a little stretch here into the hip flexors and the tops and the back of your thighs. Then let's play with the bridge dynamically. Try not to look to the side of the room when you're in the bridge. Just listen for the voice cues and keep your chin tucked towards your chest. From your high bridge line, you're going to almost allow the bum to become heavy and drop down to the mat, stopping just shy of the mat, and then shoot your hips back up towards the ceiling. So you're giving me a little bum drop, and then you're piking the hips up or thrusting the hips back up to the ceiling. And you're going to shoot for roughly 21 repetitions. Maybe using a soft ujjayi exhalation on this one and keeping the exhale through the nose. Because of the constriction that we have through the throat center here with the chin tucked quite close towards the chest, it's easier to exhale through the nose. Your glutes should be fired up and burning by now. Nice little bit of tush work here. All right, let's do 5 more. I want you to end high, hold your bridge line, feel your glutes quivering, feel your quads, feel your hamstrings quivering. And then softly, with control, relax the glutes, the quads, and the hamstring, and peel down really slowly, one vertebra at a time. Don't rush your descent, almost hollowing out your belly as you connect your lower back. And then bring your whole spine back into neutral as your bum cheeks softly connect to the mat. Just give me a little scoop up, peeling off the mat, weight off the shoulders, and just reach your fingertips through, hovering off the floor, almost as if you wanted to tap the skirting on the wall at the opposite end of the room. Peel down to the mat and tuck your hands underneath your bottom, almost making a little diamond frame underneath your bottom, and float your legs softly up to the 90 line. Drop your legs down, maybe to 75, or maybe all the way down to the floor before pulling them back up to your start position. You're going to play with that exercise using a quick pumping breath action of your choice. If this is too much for you, you can work with a bent knee and just drop your heels halfway down to the floor and pull back up to your start position. Last one, you're going to end high and hold, bracing into your feet, maybe even scooping to peel up and reaching through with your fingertips, bracing into your feet as if you were kicking the ceiling, and hold a soft contraction in your core. Then softly peel back down to the mat and begin softly Ving the legs in and out. You can start with a small V, and as the inner thighs start warming up and relaxing, you can maybe make that V a little bit wider. You could even reach around, reaching for your inner thighs, wrap them around the inner thighs, and give them a little bit of support as you open up the legs. Play with the soft pumping breath action. Pick your poison. Let's do two more. You're going to end with a wide V. Wrap your hands around the inner thighs, scoop to peel up, push or pull the two inner thighs as far as you can. Try to make your lower back and rib cage heavy into the mat and bring the weight just off your shoulders, holding a soft contraction in the core and looking off the front of the mat in front of you. Then peel the legs softly together. Find your way back down onto your back. Place your hands palms down on the knees and start tracing two circular patterns with the knees away from each other, getting a little release into the inner thighs. Maybe tracing 5 circles in one direction and then changing it up and moving your circular release in the opposite direction. Then come back to a tabletop line on the mat. Try not to pull the knees in too close to your chest, so maybe start with your knees stacking over your hips. T-frame your arms, palms down into the mat. We're going to do some side-to-side knee drops. You're going to drop your knees to the left as you look to the right, and then feet right through to the other side. You're going to give me about 10 oscillations side to side, dropping dynamically with an audible breath pattern and systematically bringing your knees closer towards the floor each time you drop the knees, so that on round 10, your knees are preferably on the floor or as close to the floor as you can comfortably manage. And you're getting a nice little bit of massage into the lower belly area at the same time. Moving at the speed that you're comfortable with. On iteration 10, you're going to hold your knee drop as far as you can to the left as you look to the right. Maybe placing both hands, palms down on your knees and holding for at least 10, maybe 20 seconds here. If you're comfortable here, you could perhaps extend both legs, maybe reaching for the two big toes, or maybe reaching for the balls of your feet and bracing into your heels and taking a nice little stretch here. If extending the legs is not an option for you, just keep gently bending and stacking, and maybe just press softly down with the palm of your hand on the top knee. Then float back to your start position and think of once more beginning that side to side drop, beginning high off the mat and then dropping the knees systematically closer to the floor, moving your head every time in the opposite direction as you start warming up the spine for your little supine twist. Playing with the breath pattern, the audible sound that works for you, either soft or loud, maybe ujjayi, maybe ha, maybe s. On iteration 10, you're going to drop both knees to the right and you're going to hold that twist for anywhere between 15 to 20 seconds, maybe reaching for the top knee and gently pulling down, or perhaps electing to extend the legs, reaching for your big toes. I've got a little big toe, but Dandasana lock here, or you can just reach for the balls of your feet. Play where you're comfortable. Make sure that you're pinning or pegging your supportive shoulder into the mat, trying to make it nice and heavy into the mat. Peel your way back to the center line. We're going to play with some spinal rolls to bring us back into a seated position. We're going to begin small and we're going to then start extending through the legs. Think of tucking into a little ball, rocking your body back and forth, rounding out through the spine as you rock back and forth. And then as the spine starts warming up, you could perhaps play with your leg line. Just make sure you've got enough runway. Maybe softly extending the legs out in front of you, coming into a soft, almost Paschimottanasana, and then rocking back as if you are coming into a plow line. But start with the knees almost softly tucked in towards your nose as you play between the two. As the back chain of your legs starts warming up and as the spine starts warming up, you can maybe tuck the toes behind you, keeping the legs extended both for Paschimottanasana and your mini plow, Halasana. Play where you're comfortable. It's more about opening up the back chain of the legs and releasing the spine, and play with the breath pattern that works for you. Experiment with your inhalations and your exhalations, but find an opportunity to cleanse and pump. Let's do a few more, and then we'll find our way into a seated frame, and we'll change our orientation on the mat, coming into a wide seated straddle. Upavista Konasana. Opening up your legs into a wide V shape, opening up as wide as you're comfortable with, and don't hang off your bum bones. Almost tilt your pelvis to the 6 o'clock position if you can, so that there's almost a gentle arc in your spine. You're going to interlace the hands, invert them, and push them away from you. Begin tracing a teeny tiny clockwise circle. Almost think of yourself as stirring a huge pot of soup or a big pot of porridge. Start making your circle systematically bigger, bringing the movements into your hips, into the pelvis, and start becoming aware of your feet in your periphery. Once again, playing with an audible exhale of your choice. Almost thinking of stirring around your feet and back in. Think of those little Kundalini spirals that we played with in the beginning. Big inhale as you come forward and a little exhale as you pull back. You're going to give me about 4 more, and then you're going to try to hook over your right foot and hold the stretch. If reaching around the foot is not possible, maybe reaching for that block if you've got it, and hook it around your foot, pulling the block into your foot and resisting, or maybe just putting the block on the inside of your leg and leaning in, or using a strap or a hand towel or a belt and looping it around the foot, and then just holding the stretch for a little bit. Once again, compressing into the lower belly area, making your chest nice and heavy to the top of your thighs as you find your stretch. Peel back up along the center line, bend your knees, but they're pretty wide, much wider than hip width distance apart, and place your hands on the mat behind you. You're going to drop both knees to the left as you look to the right, and then you're going to quickly or rapidly drop the knees side to side, finding the audible breath that works for you. Keep your chest up nice and high. Don't collapse through the shoulder blades. So think of floating your bosom up to the ceiling as you drop the knees side to side. Let's do 3 more. Then you're going to end for me with both knees dropped to the right. Hold it. Hook your right heel over your left knee, making both knees nice and heavy to the floor, and hold that stretch. Almost thinking of floating your left bosom and ribcage up towards the ceiling. Find your way back into your wide V shape, not hanging off your bum bones, so tilting towards the 6 o'clock position. Interlace your hands, invert them, begin a small clockwise circle. Inhaling as you come forward, exhaling as you draw back. Think of that Kundalini spiral. Start making your circle systematically bigger. Start becoming aware of your feet in your periphery as you circle around your feet. Find the audible breath pattern that works for you. Stir around your feet. You're going to use that momentum to hook over your left foot when you're ready. Hook over, hold, modifying if you need to. Use your block, use your strap, use your hand towel. Modify, play where you're comfortable, and hold the stretch. Thinking knee to nose, almost a modified Dandasana from the straddle position. Then gently peeling up along the center line, placing both hands on the mat behind you, bending the knees, and then dropping your knees side to side as you look over the opposite shoulder, but bringing the knees down with control, so not just thunking them to the mat, but a rapid fire movement using the audible breath exhale of your choice. Let's do 3 more. Then we'll end with both knees dropped to the left, and you're going to hook your left heel on the right knee, making both knees and feet heavy to the mat. Both feet are knife-edged, and you're looking over that back shoulder, almost bumping your right chest and rib cage up to the ceiling. From here, you're going to end off the class where you began it, and you're going to find your way back into Dandasana, sitting on the block, or maybe if you don't have a block at your disposal, finding your way into a comfortable cross-legged seated position of your choice. Remember, if you're using Sadasana on the block, try to sit on the edge of the mat and almost tilt your pubic bone down to the 6 o'clock position. Maybe this time, instead of just stacking one foot in front of the other, you could maybe reach for the lead leg and try to tuck the foot between the calf and the thigh of the other leg. Just finding a comfortable, almost folded butterfly-like line on the mat. You're going to bring your hands, just start with them comfortably, palms down on the knees, close your eyes and take your focus inward. Think of the cleansing and the opening work that we did on the mat today. And I want you to visualize just running through your 9 energy centers or chakras in the body. Think of a small little energy center. Think of it almost as a little glowing light, beginning at the base of your spine, at the bottom of the pelvis, in the pelvic energy center. Think of that light bleeding up through your reproductive organs, the Svadhisthana chakra, making its way through your belly button, your solar plexus center, bleeding up towards your chest, your heart center, your Anahata chakra, bleeding through towards your neckline, your Vishuddhi chakra, bleeding up along the neckline, making its way to your third eye, your Anya chakra, and then bleeding through the crown, the Sahasrara chakra, and see that light shining out to the universe, mirroring your health, your vitality that you've just woken up in the body. End off your practice for today by just floating the hands together in a soft prayer-like position in front of your heart center. Namaste to you all. Thank you so much for making the time to come out and play with me on the mat today. I hope you enjoyed the Kundalini and the Kriya work we did today. Body should be nicely warmed up, ready to go, revving like a finely tuned motor. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Remember to touch base with me after the class using the comment section below, or pop me an email or a WhatsApp. Remember to subscribe with your notifications on, and I shall see you all for playtime on the mat tomorrow as we do our Pilates conditioning. Till then, keep it light.